Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy AC. I'm trying not to be on here long, and I'm trying not to ramble on because I catch myself doing that. And this, I would love to ramble on because we have a couple more days before the inauguration of Donald H. Trump, and I laugh about it because it's it's coming so fast that people are complaining about it, but they know they cannot stop it. You know, his reign of terror across the country, like he did years ago, um, he is going to have inauguration is probably going to be, well protected. Probably not going to have that many much people there. A lot of people ain't going to probably show up like they did in 2020. He was very upset about that. He didn't like that nobody showed up. He actually talked about it a lot. He thought the people that voted for him was against him, so he didn't want something like that to happen again, which I believe is going to happen again. Um, what really blows my mind is that we talk about it all the time. We've been talking about it ever since he was inaugurated in 2020, and now he's being reinaugurated in 2025. But the thing is that we already knew this was going to happen because, like I said, it was a stretch that people don't understand about the presidency. That the president, former elect, can be reelected again, even if he has problems outside of office. Because if he settles everything out outside of office, his court cases and things that he went through, it's not going to actually affect him when he is reelected. So even though that he's going to be reelected, none of the stuff that he went through out of being the president is going to affect him being the president again. Regardless if he's a criminal, it's not going to affect him. And he's going to use that when he sits up there talks. He's probably going to say stuff about him being a convicted felon, how he got away with it, but he's going to talk about everybody else being criminals and shit like that. He already got his 5 executive orders waiting. So we don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be probably cold that Monday. Everybody's going to be watching. I know people that don't probably give a damn about Donald is going to watch it. Me, I'm going to watch it because I'm going to laugh because it's funny because I knew this was going to happen. See, a lot of people thought that he was never going to be reelected. And I tell people this, you don't know the presidency if you don't go into a history book and learn about history, especially the presidency, you'll never understand why he got reelected. And the reason why he got reelected was because of the pandemic. Because they needed somebody that actually had some common sense during the pandemic. Think about this. Why would they let a man that don't know nothing about anything except, selling products, owning real estate, and has no type of uh, uh, any type of past history of being a senator, a congressman, or in a Supreme Court or anything, or not even of being a vice president. He didn't know nothing about anything except, you know, he wanted to run the military. That's all he cared about. He talked about the military all that time in 2020. That's all he cared about was the military, 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 military. Then when the pandemic came and hit, they said, okay, now this man is saying some dumb shit. Now we have to get him out of office and get somebody else in office that's going to be a little bit more competent. So they said, okay, look, listen, Biden, we're going to let you be president. We're going to let you be the president. Obama's going to, be behind you. We're going to have Jackie, we're going to have his wife behind you. We're going to have Michelle. We're going to have Harris behind you. We're going to let you run and we're going to let you win. But this man right here, because he won't have an opportunity to be president because he only ran for like what? He didn't even barely do 3 years. So now this man couldn't be reelected anyway because they were trying to impeach him. What I think the reason why they tried to impeach him because they wanted him out of office faster because he didn't want to get out of office. He tried his best to keep himself in office, even though they told him, "Listen, you need to leave just for until we can reelect you again in 4 more years because Biden's old. Just imagine Biden is about 70 something years old. He has a lot of problems. He's going through a lot of issues with his health. So it would be better for Donald Trump to wait, even though Donald Trump was going through his issue. Plus, that will help him go through his issues with him going to jail or going to be put in jail. His taxes, all his other things that the prostitute, all that shit that he was going through, he could settle that out of court. He could settle out. He could settle in court. But the thing about that happened was that Donald Trump knew that he was going to be reelected. Everybody should have known this man was going to be reelected. Everybody should, because look, you gotta look at this. Biden would have won the election again against Donald Trump, even though he was sick. The reason why they put Harris to compete against Donald Trump because they know Harris was never going to get elected. You gotta understand the presidency. It ain't all about Republican, Democrat, liberal bullshit. That has nothing to do with anything. And I keep telling people, if you keep on believing in the Democrats and the Republicans, and you want to believe they're both on our side or they're both against each other, that's not even true. They're both with each other. They work together. They see each other every day. Yes, they complain about shit, but they have to. They have to look like they don't like each other. But they work together. They're both basically the same motherfucking uh, um, representative of their whoever they represent Democrats and Republicans. Because you got to understand, back then, during the time of slavery, Republicans and Democrats were against slaves. They wanted blacks to be Republican, but they turned around and made blacks Democrat because Democrats didn't want blacks to be Republican anymore because they were poor. So the Democrats knew how to use poor blacks, not just poor blacks, poor whites, to make them. Because even poor whites were forced into being Republican, and then they end up being Democrat. Because the poor will always be Democrat, and the Republicans will always be rich. So Democrats and Republicans are fighting against each other, arguing with each other, cursing each other the hell out, talking about, yeah, you a Republican, you a Democrat, but you don't know nothing about Democrats or Republicans. You don't know where they started from. You don't know what made black people, white people, Puerto Ricans, or all nationalities in this country to become Republican and Democrats because it didn't start here. It started in England. Then it worked its way to America. Yeah, I mean, they had a lot of power over there. Remember the red coats and the blue coats when the United States was fighting against Britain. It was the red coats versus the blue coats, Republicans versus Democrats. Don't you understand that? Don't you see that they use a lot of the Democrats and Republicans, blue and red, a lot? Like you got the Crips and the Bloods. They got all these things that people don't understand about this blue and red. They're rich aristocrats that got into power by dividing the country because when the country was all separate from different colonies, because you got the French, you got the British, you had different people owning parts of territories across this country because like a lot of Native Americans had their country, parts of their country that they were living in taken away, and the United States was giving away land to other countries. People didn't know that the British and the French basically owned part of this country, and even England owned this country at one point. So, what I mean, when Mexico owned most of the country, the Mexicans got invaded by the United States, and their country was taken away from the Mexicans because they felt like if you're not going to sell Mexico, which they try to purchase, or sell Texas and California, this is the reason why a lot of Mexicans, if you really understand the history of the border, which a lot of people don't because they only listen to these CNN and Fox News and all these people that don't know what the hell they're talking about, and listen to Donald Trump and he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about because he's reading from a teleprompter. Most of these people that are in power, they read from a teleprompter and they tell you, well, this is what we need to do. People go, oh my God, we need to listen to these people because they're the ones that are in power, which everybody should know the government should never be in power of the people that are already living in this country because it's called we the people, not we the government. But people don't understand. That's why people don't. That's the reason why you have the right to protest. That's why you have the right to, right to vote. You have the right to do all these things. But they're taking that away from us because we're not going out there and actually do what we're supposed to do when we have all these freedoms, which they're trying to take away from us, which Donald Trump said he's going to take away from every motherfucking body. The right to protest, the right to freedom of speech. He's talking about he want to do the right to freedom of speech. He don't care a damn about right to freedom of speech. He don't want nobody to have the right to freedom of speech. Because if it's about him or against him, he don't want to hear it. That's why he always say the news is fake, because he always said that they talk bad about him, and he said it's not true. Nothing about these things are true, but everybody know these things are true, and everybody in his cabinet. And I say you should never fear Donald Trump. You should fear his cabinet. His cabinet is the most dangerous cabinet of all time, because these people never had any power in anything, unless they did have power in some things, but they also became really, really unstable in their power. But people don't know these people. You should know the people in his cabinet, not Donald Trump. You should know the people that in his cabinet, because they're far dangerous than Donald Trump. Because you have people, you got the bull that written the book of 2025. This man was just at a hearing, and he was talking about how they should not have minimum wage be raised from 725. He said, no, we should not raise minimum wage. This is a man that's a multi-billionaire that's telling your Senate, your whatever, congressman, your governor, or they're telling Sanders, listen, we don't need to raise minimum wage. So you're telling me that to get people, blacks, whites, Puerto Ricans, all nationalities, that have money to actually work and make money to buy an apartment, to buy a nice car, to have a nice living and have a stable living, and actually help have money for their kids when they pass on, or they can give up land and shit like that. They told them no. They don't think they should do that. These are rich. These are rich motherfuckers that we vote for, and this is the reason why I have a problem with America. We vote for these rich people. We just give up our rights to these rich motherfuckers that can say whatever they want to tell us that they're going to help black people, they're going to help this culture, this culture, this culture, but they tell you in front of your face they're going to deport half of the culture across this country. Black, Puerto Rican, Mexican. Most of these motherfuckers are not even going to be immigrants that they're going to deport. They're going to deport free immigrants. And y'all still say, you know what? That's a good idea to do. But knowing 99% of this country is actually built on the backs of immigrants and slaves, we still want immigrants gone because they say they're taking all our jobs. Knowing that not one American will go out there and work just like an immigrant would. Never will do that. We'll sit on our computers, we'll sit all day on our internet, we'll sit there and we'll do all these things that we think that we will dance on YouTube, play our rap music, smoke our weed. We don't think about what they do every fucking day when they get up early in the bright morning to go to work and work hours and hours and hours. Yeah, we go to our job, we complain about our job, we complain about our raises, we complain about how we don't get no days off, but they don't complain about none of that shit. And half of the motherfucking immigrants is part of your family, which a lot of people don't want to believe immigrants are related to them. It's like they believe they were born in this country and like they were never part of an immigrant trade that came from another fucking country, because 99% of the motherfuckers that came to this country were fucking immigrants. And 99% of the people that were still living here were Americans. They were called Native Americans. But they took the country from the Native Americans, and 99% were immigrants that took the country from the Native Americans and forced them to change their religion, to force them to be in marriage, to force them to own slaves, and to force them to leave the country and go somewhere else to be slaves. But then they brought Africans in here. But 99% of the Africans think they're better than every fucking body, which I'm saying black American Africans think we're better than the Africans overseas because we believe that we got freedom, which we don't know nothing about our history to even say that we have freedom. Because our ancestors had to fight a lot to stay alive. And fuck freedom. To this very day, I watch about Jim Crow, and nobody knows anything about Jim Crow. Did you know Jim Crow was a time that if blacks had Jim Crow right now, we will all be slaves? Jim Crow was the worst time for black. They had laws that black people couldn't do in each fucking state across the country that blacks could not do. Laws called the Black Code. And to this very day, I said these people that you put in office are the same people that had the ancestors in the times of the the Johnsons and the Jacksons and the Thomas Jeffersons and the George Washingtons. You know what I mean? Those are the motherfuckers that were your presidents. You had senators, governors, they were all slave owners. They hated blacks. And then once black people thought they were freed, they just want to say, well, we're going to start mixing, which we should have never had done. And I'm not saying we should have never, worked with white people. Of course, we should have worked with whites to make money. But the thing about it, we should never integrate it with them. We should have kept ourselves on the other side of the tracks so we could make a lot of money so we could buy up most of this country, which us black people did not do. We tried to, but they came in and destroyed everything that we tried to build in the land that we had, they took. And in the inventions that we made, they took from us. Everything that we tried to say was ours, they took from us. And they said we are not worth a goddamn thing to this country. And blacks really think that we're worth something to this country. Yes, we're worth something to this country. We're going to be the same way as our ancestors were. We're going to be slaves. The Native Americans, the Puerto Ricans, the Mexicans. You didn't know they used to call They used to call Puerto Ricans dogs. They used to have signs up saying Puerto Rican dogs. They say you don't let no dogs come. They were talking about Puerto Ricans. They didn't tell you that black people could not go on trains. They had to go on separate cars. And if they did go on a car that had white people, they had to sit in the back. They were not allowed to even sit anywhere near white people. They wasn't even allowed to even go to school with white kids. They wasn't even allowed to go into the bathroom. Black people had to walk in the street if white people came down the street like they did used to do in fucking Germany. Where the Jews used to walk down the street and the German army would walk down the street, they would have to make them walk in the street. That's what they used to do to Africans, black people. They used to make them walk in the street. While you couldn't even look at a white person's face. You couldn't even talk to a white woman. A white man and a black man and a white man could not converse with each other. Or they would have to pay a 10 to $20 to $50 fine. Now, that's a lot of money back then. $500 fines were a lot back then. Because a lot of blacks used to get locked up and was charged $500. They couldn't even afford that. So just imagine you living back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Or not just, let's say, let's go back a little bit further. Let's say you go back to the late 1800s into the 1900s. And you were locked up. And you had to pay $500 fine. And you couldn't get out unless you paid that $500 fine. You just couldn't pay it. You'd be in jail. And actually, they will actually sell you the fuck off to somebody to work free hard labor. Blacks don't understand how terrible it was during the Jim Crow era. And they really think that just because we had the 14th Amendment or 14th, 15th Amendment, whatever amendment we have, we think that amendment really represent black people, which a lot of blacks actually led, a lot of lawyers that were black actually used to fight for that amendment. And whites used to say it didn't even count. That amendment doesn't have to do with anything that's going on right now. The amendment that we fought for, that one little small amendment, that's for black people. All that civil rights bullshit, all that shit that we've been through for the past almost 100 and something years, never worked for black people. And to this very day, we still are getting the same backslap that we got almost 100 years ago. But see, us black people, we don't see it because we are blind. Because we want to be part of something that we were never a part of. And I said, we want to walk down the yellow brick road with the white person, but they don't want nothing to do with us. I'm telling them that for a long time. Yes, you're going to have some white people going to be on our side because they're trying to understand. Plus, they know that their ancestors are from Africa. They know it's a damn shame that white people know that their ancestors are from Africa, but black people don't know anything about their ancestors being from Africa. How does every other culture know that their bloodline come from Africa, but black people don't want their bloodline coming from Africa? It don't make no sense. You got motherfucking Ku Klux Klan members finding out their bloodline coming through Africa, and they're shocked. But you hear a black person, oh, I'm not black, I'm not African out there. Africans think they're better than us. They don't think they're better than nobody. No culture think they're better than any other culture because they know what their culture been through. It's just that we don't accept of what we've been through as a black culture. We think that we are going to just settle and just going to get back together and be protecting each other. It will never happen. We will never ever protect each other. And you got these presidents like a Donald Trump coming in office. He know black people are the weakest people to attack. Because all we do is say the race card. Oh, they don't like, they're racist. That's all we do is use the race card. The only reason why they use the race card on us because we know we're going to get so upset about it. Oh, they calling us nigger. They doing because that's what we call ourselves anyway. We look at each other as enemies. We never gonna smile at each other. The only time that we really probably smile at each other is we're drunk or high. And we probably don't like each other because we're jealous of each other. We don't work together. We don't make money together. We're divided. And this is coming from a black man, y'all. And a lot of black men and women are saying this shit, and a lot of black men and women ain't listening because they don't care. But they sitting up there talking about how bad Donald Trump is going to do the country. Well, okay, he's going to do the country like he did 4 years ago. It's never going to change. And every single president from all the 48 presidents that we had, nothing's ever going to change except them telling you they're going to help black people. And then black people will run out there and put their vote in because they say black people. Oh, we'll help them with welfare. We'll help them with child care. We'll help them with this. We'll help them with that. Knowing that they don't want to help not one black person. And they telling you that they're not trying to raise the minimum wage. You know that black people are the most, besides white people, make the lessest money. You got other parts of the country making 19, you got 19, 18, 17, but they're saying some parts of the country don't even have any type of cultures making over 7.25 an hour. That's fucked. Are going up. Taxes went up. You know the tariff is really fucking up, which people don't really know nothing about tariffs. Tariffs, people just started hearing about this tariff shit. Nobody knows anything about tariffs and how dangerous it is to us as black people to have this tariff shit going on. Because it really affects us too more than it affects white people. Because we're living in the poor neighborhoods and all the food prices are going up. So all the food prices are going up. We won't be able to afford anything to fuck to eat. And all them soup kitchens that we're going to be running to, they're not going to be able to afford any food to give us for free. All we care about is money, 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 money. But the money that we're trying to say, okay, we complain about the money, but we're not doing anything to try to make more money and try to make it together. So once we make it together, we can go out there and put it out there to help other blacks. And we can be rich, but we can't be rich if we're going to all be selfish. And that's what this motherfucker want, dog. This president and this new regime, well, old regime is, well, it's a new regime because Donald Trump is putting new people in the regime. But this regime is going to really show how this country was built on the backs of slaves and immigrants. Not one rich white aristocrat put money into this country, which they'll tell you that they had, but they didn't. They said man built this country. Yes, you want to know the men that built this country? It was slaves and it was immigrants. Those are the ones that built this country. We're the ones that were dying. We were the ones being traded. We were the ones that were actually being brought from other people to work in mines, building the Capitol building. Everybody's so obsessed about the Capitol building. The White House was built twice by slaves. You got the Lincoln Monument. You got the Washington Monument. You got all these things that are built by slaves. The whole Pennsylvania Avenue was built by slaves. Colleges were built by slaves. How can you sit there and tell me that these people that you put in office really don't know what the past was like? They know everything about what happened to black people. That's why they use things against us. So we could just sit there and say, okay, cool, I'm going to put this man in office because he really want to help us. Ooh, I'm going to put this woman in office because she says she wants to help us. They don't want to help us. Like Obama said when black people were saying, oh, Obama, are you going to help black people? He said he's not here to help black people. He's here to help the country. Harris said the same motherfucking thing. Guess what black people did? Got mad, got pissed off, and then start talking bad about her. Oh, she's not black. All that, because this is what us black people think, that everything in this country should actually belong to us. None of this shit belongs to us. We don't own nothing in this country. This is not our original language. We did not come here on a boat freely. We didn't come from Africa to Brazil to Puerto Rico to Jamaica, or to Barbados to Jamaica, all the way up to here to South Carolina, Virginia, Baltimore, Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, Florida, We didn't go through all that to get all the way up here to say, oh, we're coming here to be equal to the white man. It was never like that, dog. They put us here, changed our religion, changed our language to English, and next thing you know, we got comfortable because we didn't have nowhere else to go. Because they took everything from us, from our language, our religion, to where we know that we came from, and we didn't care. Why does every other culture know everything about themselves? Why does every other culture know where they came from and are proud of their country and will go back to their country even though they can't stay there to represent their ancestors? Why can't black people do the same fucking thing? Not one black person been to Africa, but they'll go to Jamaica, they'll go to other black countries, but they won't go to Africa because they feel Africa is that country that we should have never been to. We should have never been born, and our ancestors should have never been born in that country because blacks blame blacks for the ones that are being taken from that country to over here, knowing that the Europeans actually went down into Africa. Well, they didn't go into Africa. They took a boat to an island off of Africa because the Portuguese are the ones that sold slaves. The Portuguese are the ones that sold the slaves. They took them to an island off of Africa. The Europeans came to that island because they couldn't go into Africa because the Europeans would have died if they went in Africa because they were going to war at that time. Africa was at war with the Europeans. A lot of kings and queens were actually fighting with the fucking Africans. And even Europe was fighting with Europe was up there fighting with Africa. That's why you think why do you think Europe owns Africa? See, black people don't understand what we've been through for the past 400 years. And we think that we're free because we live in the ghetto. The ghetto was never built for black people. It was built for white people. The welfare was supposed to be given to black people. It was supposed to be given to white people. Poor, it was basically started in the South, when it was really uneducated white people. You don't understand how uneducated white people were. They were more uneducated than blacks. But they want to tell you that they were never was. They always tell you that Africans were more undereducated. No, they were not more uneducated. That's why they stole a lot of stuff from us. That's why they made us build every fucking thing. That's why we were up there growing and doing farming and all that shit. That's why we the ones that picked the cotton. That's why we were the ones that were doing the rice picking. We were up there going in the mines. They wasn't doing none of that shit. All they knew how to do was count money. They didn't know how to read or write. Most of them rich motherfuckers were illiterate. And most blacks were. That's the reason why they didn't want blacks to learn English, or not learn English, but learn how to read regular except the Bible, because they knew the Bible was a broken language. Read the Bible and how broken language the Bible is, and see how Africans used to speak back then. They used to speak like they were talking, like they were reading the Bible, because they would not allow black people to read books or let them write down shit. They couldn't even have paper in their fucking homes or where they used to sleep at when they were put in their slave bunkers. I call them slave bunkers. It's a shame. It's a shame. We're the reason why I put the horns on Donald Trump, because I'm not actually calling him the devil, because he's not the devil. Because I don't believe in the devil. I believe that human beings are evil. I don't believe in the devil, and I don't believe in a God. And the only reason why I believe human beings are the ones that create good and evil. We're the ones that actually create our own energy that's actually evil. We want to believe there's a God because we can never ever believe that we are human, and we have done things for billions of years, and we discovered things, we survived shit, and we all think that, oh, everything started in Jerusalem. And I still can't get that. But like I said before, like, we use religion as a way to try to block out all. We can't blame ourselves for the things that we have done to ourselves as human beings. We gotta blame God, or we gotta blame the devil for everything, because we can't blame ourselves through the history that we put ourselves through war, through famine, through rapes, murders, all that shit that we have done as humans. We have to blame the devil for everything because we believe the devil is the one that's doing everything. And we know he's not doing everything. Humans are the ones that do things because we are the ones that think for ourselves. But like I said before, like we have been taught how to hate each other. It's easy. You put a whole bunch of black people together inside of a small room and they're going to start hating each other. They're going to look at they look at us as wild animals. They said they called us wild animals, dog. They used to say we were monkeys, we were savages. We're the ones in Africa that built armies that actually went and destroyed Rome. They actually fought Roman Empire armies and won. But they said that we were savages, but you come into somebody's country and you're trying to take over their country. And once you did take over that country, the only way you can make that country your country if you make the people believe that they were never ever in power. So what you do, you take away everything from them. You burn down their cities, you'll take all their gold, you'll take all their history, and you put them all in a fucking museum. That's what they did throughout Africa. They did that in Egypt. They took everything. They didn't want to say that the Muslims came there and the Muslims were the Egyptians, and they want to say white people were the Egyptians, even though not one motherfucking speck of white people that were in Egypt at that time, and not one speck of Islamic people were in Egypt at that time. But this is the way that we as people don't know our history. And this is what Donald Trump's going to say about black people when he's sitting on that stage. He's going to say things about black people, and black people you getting upset of what he's going to say about us because he's been saying this years. He says the same thing about white people. If you don't think that you're a nice, rich white person that got some money in their pocket, he's going to say something negative about you. He only cares about the rich. He doesn't care about the middle class or the poor. He don't give a fuck. If you're not making over $1 billion, he don't know who the hell you are. All he do is disrespect women. He don't care about you as a human being. He'll probably shake your hand and probably laugh at you and say, yo, get that person out of my office. See, this is the thing about us. We need to stop following behind everybody else because everybody else feels that this person is going to help us. We have to help ourselves, dog. Why are we not helping ourselves? Why are we not going out there and making billions like Elon Musk and buying up this fucking country? Black people should have been owned part of this country. How did the fucking territories of France and Britain and all of them owned the country before they started selling off the territories to the United States? Why did they own that shit? Why the fuck did black people didn't come in here and say, you know what? After slavery, we own in this fucking country. Or we're gonna pack all our fucking bags, we're gonna leave this country, and we're gonna find our own island. We could have went back, we could have went to Brazil, we could have went to Jamaica, we could have went to Barbados, we could have went anywhere in any country that we could have left this country and let the white people have this country. Because this country would have fell apart without black people. And a lot of immigrants probably would have never came to this country. The only reason why immigrants came to this country because they were asked to come here. What they brought here from England and France and all them when they were building the motherfucking factories. The United States didn't have no fucking factories. They didn't start the factory in the United States. They started that fucking shit overseas. Lincoln's the one that brought them factories over here. Because, you know, we want to believe everything started here. Nothing started here but war, famine, racism, slavery, displacing Native Americans, killing off most of the people that lived here with diseases. They brought herpes, gonorrhea, syphilis. They brought everything to this country. They brought smallpox, chicken pox. They brought everything to this country. And not just him, not just the Europeans. Christopher Columbus did the same thing to the Native Americans in the motherfucking other part of the Caribbean. Then he brought dogs and he used them dogs to tear up kids, tear up babies. Like, how is it that we believe that we were always going to be the ones that they would say, okay, we are going to apologize. They never apologized to anything that they did to us, and they never will. I don't know why we vote for these motherfuckers. Why we waste our time going into these long ass lines and these long ass. We say, oh, you got to have the right. The right of what? Oh, we got to do your fourth. No, we don't have the right of no 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th Amendment. We don't have no right to do nothing. We think that we did because our ancestors were forced to vote. Because they had to vote for the white. But when did our ancestors actually vote for black people when they only had one black actual woman in 1978 that actually ran for president and she didn't win? But you had other motherfuckers that ran for president. We had to vote for them because they told us, oh, they're going to do and help us. But we can't help our own selves. So why are we going to wait for the white man to help us? We can't help ourselves. They don't have to help us. They don't got to give us shit. They don't got to give us welfare. They don't got to give us child care. They don't got to give us Social Security. They don't got to give us disability. They don't got to give us shit. Black people holding out their hand like, oh, you can't be giving none of these immigrants anything. Y'all owe us. They don't owe us shit. We were slaves. You think they do to slaves? Slaves are always going to be slaves. They don't have to give us shit. And we're sitting up here holding our hand out like they're going to give us millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of acres of land. We're still fighting for restitution. And restitution already been given to us 300 years ago. But blacks don't know that we got restitution 300 years ago. We already had restitution. That's the reason why they're not going to give us restitution. Because they gave our ancestors restitution after slavery. When they let blacks, slaves, they took over the homes of their slave owners. When they kicked the slave owners out their homes, when the Yankees went down there in the South and kicked them out their fucking homes, and they let the blacks stay there. And then Ulysses H. Grant came along and got the blacks out of the homes and said, listen, the only way you could stay if you remain a slave, not a slave, you remain to work for your former slave owner, or you have to leave. And a lot of black people stayed because a lot of black people didn't know what it was like to be freed. They were so used to being slaves. And this is what us black people are doing now because we're in the hood. We never want to leave the hood because we're so just like our ancestors. We don't know how to be free. We don't know what it's like to be free. Yeah, they know what it's like to be free because they actually truly have freedom. We don't have true freedom. If we had true freedom, number one, our people would have been left this country a long fucking time ago. But us black people are so afraid to leave and try something new because we thinking that if we leave, we won't be allowed to come back here. Of course, we're not going to be allowed to come back here. This is not our country. We had nothing to do with this country. Only thing we do is build this country, and next thing you know, they tell us, okay, we're free, but we're going to still use you as slaves. Your ancestors, your next kin is going to be what you are. We're going to make y'all not have no money. You're going to be poor, broke. You're going to have like 16,000 kids. You're going to be on welfare, child care. The same motherfucking thing as our ancestors were. We still the same. We're never changed. And black people are like, oh, why you always talk bad about your black? I do not talk bad about black. I tell the truth. Because we are going to have a president that's probably going to say everything I said on fucking stage. And he's not going to care what anybody think about him. You care about what I think and what I say. You're going to have some white man that look like Chuck E. Cheese going to sit up there and tell you, yeah, black people are this, black people are that. He's going to tell you because he did it so many times. And all his fucking, when he ran for president, he talked bad about black people all the fucking time. Even Biden was a racist. But black people forgot about that. Or they'd let it go. But they won't let Donald Trump go because he's a racist. But Biden was a racist too. And if you don't believe me, go and look up all his racist rants when he was in Congress. See, we get mad at Obama because he's saying enough black people are not voting. It's true. A lot of black people are not voting. And honestly, we shouldn't be going out there voting for people that don't give a flying fuck. We're not voting for people because of color. That should not be a president. A president should be voted for just for color. We should vote for the president that will actually fix the country and fix us as a nation and let us be free. We up there fighting for who black and who, oh, no black president. Who gives a fuck, dog? Who cares about a black president? Because they didn't do the same things the white motherfuckers do. They didn't do a goddamn thing. You got the mayors, senators, and governors do more for black people than the fucking black president. But we go run out there and put our vote in. Say, okay, they care about us. They don't give a damn about us. This has been going on for centuries, dog. This has been going on ever since George Washington became president. When that motherfucker had 13 slaves, his wife had 87 slaves. Think about this, right? Your wife has more slaves than you. He had 13 slaves. His wife had 87. He didn't give a damn about slaves. He ended up having 300 slaves by the time he died. We don't know how much his wife had because his wife actually had more slaves than him. And we can go down the road of how many women had more slaves than men. And they actually treated their slaves worse than men did. We say always talk about the men because you will always see the men beating down their slaves, but they never show the women, which the women were more cruel than the men. Sexually, mentally, physically, and emotionally to the black African man. And if you don't believe me, there's a video on YouTube that actually talks about it. About women, white women, rich white women, owning more slaves than their husbands. Because a lot of women that had their fathers will gift them with slaves. If they love their daughter, they're like attached to their daughters, they will gift them with a slave. So every single time a father like, look, baby, it's your birthday. Well, I'm giving you this slave right here. So the daughter actually is being gifted, and next to you know, as she gets older, she started using her own, slaves as a business. She opened up her own plantations. And this has been going on, and this is why I'm like, this is why I always look at white women different than I look at any other culture of women, because you can look at it that they still have some of their ancestors inside them. Because dominance over the black male. That's why I always say black women need to stop being that way to men, because they look just like the women that used to be slaves owners that were white women. Where the way black women treat their men, they're looking just like the way the white women used to treat their slaves. And I'm like, yo, we need to stop doing that. Because it was like far worse than when male slave owners will treat their men. They're male slaves. Even though they will attack the women, of course, they will attack the women. That's what it always been like back then. But the thing is that we need to stop complaining, and we need to go out there and start standing up, because on Monday, you actually going to start seeing some fire, some brimstone, and you're going to sit there and see that man talk, and he's going to say some hateful crap to America. And people are going to get upset. They're going to be making videos. Oh my God, why he say that? Because that's what he do. We can't get mad at a man that's always going to be who he is. He's never going to change just because people complain about him. He is the president of the United States. He doesn't care about what people think about him. He's going to be ignorant, disrespectful, unhonest. He's not going to be all friendly. He don't care about anything except the rich. If you're not a billionaire, trillionaire, multi-trillionaire, or multi-quadrillionaire, he don't care nothing about you. And he's going to tell people that too. All the lies that he has said from the time that he was going to say, well, I'm going to help this, help this, help this. No, he didn't give a damn. He even said that he can't do nothing about it. Now people are so upset at him and mad at him and making videos of him. You got blacks hating whites, hating Puerto Ricans, attacking all these cultures because they didn't vote for him. They didn't vote for Harris. They voted for Trump. Like, what are you fucking doing? See, this is how they always make people go against each other. See, a country can't stay together because we're fighting over fucking president, while these other countries are actually getting together and fighting against their president, against their vice presidents, against their senators or their congressmen or whatever who's in the leader of their country that they don't want in office. They go out there and get that motherfucker out of office. We'll sit here and complain, make videos on YouTube, and sit up there yelling and holler and curse each other out because we didn't vote for this president that we wanted. You got to stop. That's not how presidency works. Can't be sitting up here complaining about you want this person, I want that person. It's not going to happen like that. That's not how the presidency works. That's not how voting works. Once they do that count, the president is going to be the president of the United States. Harris was never going to win. Hillary Clinton was never going to win because they're women. And this country never had a woman president and it never will. I don't give a fuck if the woman was the most drop dead gorgeous woman that had the most perfect body in the world. They're not going to vote her. They're not going to put her in office as president. I don't care how many, she gobbled up, how many twerks she did, and how many followers and likes she has. It doesn't make a difference because they're not going to put her in office because she is a woman. This country will always be a male dominant country. Now, other countries like Mexico and many other countries like Canada and some other countries around the world like China, sometimes Japan, and sometimes you had England that had a woman leader for like almost 100 years. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You got Mexico that has a woman president. You have a Canadian vice president. Like, come on. America will never have a woman. We'll have vice presidents as women. Of course, yeah, that's simple. But even if that woman tries to become president, she'll never become president because this country was built on the backs of men. I'm sorry to say that. I know women had a lot to do with building this country, but that's what they're going to say. This country was not ever, ever, ever built on the backs of women. Women didn't do anything. That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. I know the truth about what women put into this country and how much stuff that they put in this country. Without women being in this country, a lot of shit wouldn't have been done in this country. There's a lot of inventions that have been done by women that men don't even fucking know about because they're so sexist. They think everything's built by man. They think everything, yes, the laws are made by man. The Bible was written by man. Yes, all this stuff was created by men. But you got to understand, without a strong woman, men would not be out here doing a goddamn thing. And and the thing that really makes me mad is once we get this president in office, what's going to change us as the people of this country? What we're going to do? We're gonna sit there and be like complaining, 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 complaining. Because they talk about his inauguration like 50,000 times. And it's gonna be on MSNBC because everybody know they're gonna be talking about, oh, the president is such a great man. Oh, I love his inauguration. He's such a great speaker. They're gonna say so much bullshit. But this is what happens. For the next 4, 5, 6, whatever how many years he'll be president, because they're already talking about Republicans will never have to vote again. So they're talking about Republicans might be in office for the next 20 years. So we're going to be sitting up there as Democrats trying to figure out ourselves of what we should do as a country to merge ourselves together and fix each other and fight back. Because we're going to have to fight back. If we don't fight back, they're gonna make sure that we never ever ever be able to vote again. Which a lot of black people are very prideful of their voting because once they get that sticker on their chest, they're very prideful. Because us black people, we like to be pride. We love our pride. We love to vote. We love to say that we voted, even though we don't know who the fuck we voted for and why we voted for that person. Oh, I forgot because that person's black. My bad. Oh, that person said they like to help black people. My bad. Not because we need help in this country. We only try to vote for presidents that got skin color and money. Knowing that they put these black rappers, black actors, politicians, athletes, to say, hey, you need to go out there and vote for blacks. What? That should never be the way that we should vote, man. We should vote for the right motherfucker, white, black, Puerto Rican, Chinese, green, whatever. We need to vote for the right person that's going to help this country and help. We should help ourselves to try to make us a very powerful country again, which we're not going to do because this motherfucker is going to tear this country the fuck apart. That's why everybody around the country, around the world, is laughing at us. Look at these dumbass Americans. They up there voting. Hey, look at that. Let's look at them. They laughing at us while we got this man about to be inaugurated for the second time. And I'm trying to tell people, never fear Trump. Fear his cabinet. Because his cabinet is the most dangerous cabinet in history. We got some crazy effing people in this cabinet. They're crazy. They're more dangerous than Donald Trump. So be very, 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 very scared of not him, because Donald Trump's an idiot. Just be scared of his cabinet, because his cabinet's the ones that are the devils. They're the demons. They're the ones that tell Trump what to do. He listens to them. So whatever Trump goes, what should I do? They be like, oh, you need to do this. Why don't you go over there and just do this to Russia real quick? Okay, I'll do that. I'm trying to tell you, man. The crows speak in his ear, man. I'm off this thing, man. Bless to everybody. I'm gonna make a video on Monday about the inauguration, but that's gonna be very, very, very scary.